A warm welcome to MadeToGrow's podcast, where we meet exciting people with stories and mindsets that can inspire everyone, no matter where we are in life. My aim is that you, as a listener, can get some insight into the genius aspects of how we humans are motivated and developed, and maybe also how we deal with those both big and small challenges in life, as well as maybe some recipe or insights into how we can master life and career. My name is Sissel Naustdal, and I founded Made2Grow based on my huge passion for developing potential in ourselves and others. I believe that when we feel we can use our potential, we also feel better about ourselves and we can be greater resources for others. And today I have the pleasure of having Larissa Slottet as my guest. And Larissa's purpose is to empower individuals to amplify their connections with themselves, their teams, the community, and the planet. And her mission is to inspire positive change and foster inclusive cultures through innovative approaches deeply rooted into the science of human connection. And Larissa, you are the founder and the CEO of Culturas, and you have more than 15 years experience related to this, and you have developed training programs and coached many teams and leaders. So warm welcome, Larissa. And I think after me introducing you, I think it would be great to have a little summary from you about your background, who you are, where you come from, before we dive into some of the highlights from your life and career.
Thank you. Thank you, Cecil, for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be here discussing a topic that I'm passionate. I think that the last years, neuroscience has brought a lot about mindset and how our brain works. And it's about time for us to understand a little bit more how can we use this in our favor. So about me, I am from Brazil, and I lived in many different countries: Australia, New Zealand, Spain, the Caribbean. And as a young adult, I used to say that I would like to travel the world before I get married and stop when I find a country with a perfect system and no corruption. I end up in Norway. Here I am, living here in 15 years, have a family here, married with a Norwegian man, have 2 kids. And my educational background is a big mix, actually. I started being educated as a teacher, and then I did business and international relations back in Brazil. And here in Norway, I did study sustainability. But in the side of this academia life, I also have always had the interest for yoga and coaching and neuroscience. And so those are the topics that I'm bringing to my life on the side. And now I'm like just putting everything together to bring this mission into life.
That's really beautiful. And the cool thing is that you are from Brazil, living in Norway. I am from Norway, but currently
In
traveling
Brazil.
in Brazil. So
Fantastic.
it's really amazing. In this beautiful country, we are on the search for what is better ways of living, how to create more life and career quality, how to develop more of the human potential. So for sure, we have a lot of great things in Norway, but for sure, we have some great things in Brazil as well. So,
Yes.
learning from each other and be open to cultures and people and different ways of doing things. So, I think yeah, it's like amazing to hear how your journey has been traveling to many countries and you ended up in Norway, where many tend to believe the society is perfect, but we also have some challenges there, right?
Yes, of course. I think that every place end up being, like a mix of goods and bads. But I think that like what I most appreciate in Norway is that like really the facts that I have been struggling so much with some of characteristic of Brazilian culture, such as corruption, and I have been so critical to that. So like I was kind of looking for something different than that, and this is what attracted me the most. But also, obviously, it's a beautiful country. In terms of nature, I love nature. I love being outside. I love skiing. I love the fact that the country has also 4 seasons. It's very exotic, and it's a great mix, you know. Like, and I think that for both myself living here, you traveling Brazil, we just expand our repertoire, and we kind of understand a little bit more about the whole. And it's very nice that I can navigate as well, that I can be here, that I can travel, that I can go around. But yeah, it's a good mix. I think that Brazil and Norway, in terms of cross-cultural experience, we have a lot to, you know, it's a good mix. What is like most natural in Brazil maybe is missing a little bit here. And maybe, you know, like what is natural here is missing a little bit in Brazil. So it's really nice that we can exchange this knowledge and costumes, culture.
And I also believe traveling around, I think we tend to have more an open mind when we travel around because we expect to meet people and cultures that might be different from what we are used to in the country we come from.
Yeah.
But when we had our conversation first time we talked a few weeks back, and for you sharing a little bit about your experience also coming to Norway and I guess maybe other countries, we tend to expect people who come to our country to behave like we are in that country.
Hmm.
And for me, when you said that, it was a really, really huge reminder that regardless of where we are in the world, our home country or a different country, when we meet people, try to bring in that human openness, the respect, and also to look for the positive differences in us.
Yeah.
So maybe share a little bit about that because I know you work a lot with diversity and cultures and you have been
Hmm.
traveling and living many places. So I think it would be a nice place to dive a little bit into to see what's your experience in this and maybe some inputs to me and others on how to be more open and curious and adaptable.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say that it's like almost an obligation of someone that goes to a host country to learn about the culture and to understand how can I function well in this culture. But what I found here is that like somehow we are kind of trained to be the same. We go to Noshkush first, and this is like very much introduction of the culture, and you understand that like, okay, for me, for example, I'm going to give some practical examples. If I move too much my hand, if I bring too much of my energy, I can be a little bit too much, and people can be like a little bit. So with the time, we learn how to put the hands together, how to talk what is acceptable, how to go into the tone that is okay, how to use the vocabulary. We learn the language, we go pushi. And when we see, at least this is what happened to me and several international coaches that I had in the same situation, at some point we just are lost. We don't know who we are anymore. We are trying to, you know, like tilpas so
Yeah, we
much
try to
that
adapt
to
too much.
adapt so much that you lose who you are, you lose your essence. And this is the time that everything starts to be like dark, and you know, you're probably going to find a depression, because it is a rule for human beings to be in the best potential, that they are in contact with who they are, with their essence. So what I learned with the time is that yes, I can be myself, I can bring who I am, but I maybe need to go one step ahead and explain, you know, like, so if I'm in a meeting, I like to open the meeting, tell like, I talk a little bit with my hands, I'm from Brazil. So people kind of get used to it, and I can be a little bit more who I am without making people scary, if you know what I mean. Or for example, other code that I understood is that like I'm a very huggable person. I love hugging. And I don't know how many times I have been in this situation that I'm like, you know, jumping the person is like freezing. So I understood that I need to put this announce before, I'm going to hug you. So the person open themselves and I can hug, or like the person reacts and I don't need to, you know. So you kind of understand how can you be who you are in the environment that you are, being your authentic self. I think that the most important thing is that we keep our values. We are, have a big heart and is kind to each other. And then I can bring my authentic self, explain a little bit of who I am, and be my authentic self. When I moved to Norway, someone told to me, "Oh, Larissa, you are like a grain of pepper in a plate of rice. Don't stop to be the pepper." At this time, I didn't understand very well what he meant, but now this is exactly what I try to be. I try to spice a little bit out the rice that is around me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to stop being who I am. And even though I am part of this society, I am part of this country, but what I need to bring to here is who I am, because this is my best version. So yeah, it's important that as well this is respected and understood. And this is cross-cultural knowledge, right? So this is what I expect, to be honest, that if we have the same values, that is being nice to each other, that we can be a little bit different and be accepted for that.
Beautiful. And I think, as you said, be the pepper in the rice. I really love that expression, Arisa. And I also recognize what you're saying, that maybe not only in Norway, but I also feel in Norway we might have a smaller box that we are expected to fit into, that we are encouraged to be more the same. Well, maybe if you go to other countries, I learned from some person I met in New York once. He said, if you try to just fit in, you are like nobody. If you like be yourself and dare to be different and offer what you have, because you are always unique, no matter what. So I think maybe it's a good thing for all of us to maybe aim for being the pepper in the rice, because both we get more diversity, we create more room for others to express themselves and to dare to be their authentic self, and we get so much more value from both knowledge and experiences and personal differences. And I think
Creativity.
that's the root or the fundament in all kind of diversity work we are doing.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
So, but what led you to do all this traveling? Of course, you were on the search for something different, something better, because it was corrupt and things with the system in Brazil you didn't like. But I guess maybe there has been some kind of root purpose throughout all these years for you.
Yeah. Okay, so like I did not leave Brazil because of the problems of Brazil. I have always been very critical, but I'm always very enjoyable of the good part of it. But even though I felt that the world is so much more, and why do I need to stay here just because I was born here? It made no sense for me. I need to explore, I need to get out and see more. And so I did. But exploring in this level of like, I need to arrive in the place and I need to function like someone that was born in this place. I need to work there. I need to, make my money, meet people. And I did it in Australia, then I went to New Zealand, and everything started to be easy, because when you start to travel, especially alone, and like the universe starts to take its place and everything starts to work, you just understand that you can just go and explore more and more. So Norway was a big surprise for me. I arrived here with nothing besides the wish to see the country. And I got in love with Oslo, with everything that I saw, and I just decided like that, yeah, I want to stay here. So I applied for job, got visa, and stayed. Then I got the whole package, husband and everything more. And yeah, I think it was a good choice. I love living in Oslo. I think it's a city that goes very well with my personal interest. And I love the fact that also, like from here, I can keep exploring the world. Not that I don't miss my culture, my country, but I don't know, somehow the planet starts to be a little bit smaller for me. So I think that, like, be exploring and be going and taking the best out of every place is the best way to live.
And for you to finding your purpose, I guess, of course, it's been impacted by the things you have yourself experienced, and I guess also some of the hardships you have felt. So, because you're quite clear about your purpose, about empowering individuals to amplify the connections and to make and inspire positive change, inclusive cultures. So when did you realize and how did you realize this kind of purpose and mission in life?
Yes, okay. So what I bring with myself is that, like, as I told you, I start to lost to be to feel lost when I was like trying to adapt so much. So in this process, I went in a very deep process of self awareness and understanding who I am and bringing me back. And with that, I understood that my light was coming back to myself. You know, at some point I was just like not interesting to others. And then I came back and start to be like more creative and more energy and more powerful. And, you know, like things start to come back to place. Again, I was like manifesting. And then I understood like the power of you being in contact with your real essence and who you are. And I think that Norway is one of the cultures where I have been, where people try to be most as possible similar to each other. And I was always very curious about that. Like, how much of this is real? How much this is just a train that everybody think that is okay? But at the same point, I was feeling like I miss a little bit more real, deep connection with people around me, especially in workplace. So what happened at work is that obviously when I was with the wrong mindset and trying to belong by finding signs that I belong in the outside, I never found it because yeah, I still being a different person. And so it didn't help. But I need to bring this feeling from inside me. I need to tell me, I belong here. I live here. This is, you know, where I build my family. This is where I work. This is where I pay tax. This is my country. This is where I live. I belong here. And when I start to have this mindset, then I start to feel again that, like, yeah, I am part of this society. And this whole entire process made me very motivated to help other people to find themselves. So I started doing coach for other internationals like me. So it's quite similar, the journey. We arrive, we are honeymoon with the country, we try to adapt to the culture as much as possible, we lose who we are. Depression, burnout. Dun, dun, dun. So in order for you to come back, you need to bring back who you are, your essence, and then learn tools to bring this authentic self, but at the same point, function you well in the rules of the society where you are living. So it's a lot of mental training, a lot of development needed, but it's trainable. And it's not that hard if you do the homework and if you know, follow the recipe or use the tools. So this became pretty much my mission. It's also because something that is quite natural in me, and also because of the need. I don't know if you saw the last study from Gallup, where they measure engagement all over the world, and they separate the group of people in three characteristics. The first one is engaged people. It's people that is like connected with the mission of the company that they're working for, with the team. You know, these people that go an extra mile for a team member or a client, and it's like they are alive and they have energy. Engaged. Second block is quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is defined of people that is in a seat watching the clock. They do the minimum that they have to do. They deliver like low, and you know, and in general, this is the people that is most suffering of stress and burnout. Not because they work too much, but because they are disconnected. And disconnection bring this feeling of like, yeah, I'm the wrong place. So quiet quittings are always looking for a new opportunity. They are not really necessarily engaging in a common mission, in a shared vision, like they are individually doing their job, so on and so forth. And then there is loud quitting, that is people that is leaving the job and in conflict and so on and so forth. But is this block here, quiet quitting, that is the most interesting, because the results show that 52% of the people in the planet is quiet quitting mindset. But Gallup went a little bit forward and he did a study. They did a study in every country by year. Do you know what is the number of quiet quitting mindset in Norway last year?
No, because my what I often refer to when I talk about the Gallup research, I'm not sure if there has been a new one since the last one I saw. I think it was from 2022 or
Yeah, the one's new.
2021. Then I heard that only approximately 14% are engaged, and then I heard that 8% is proactively disengaged, so they're actually working against their employer, and the rest, which will be some 70%, are they couldn't care less, basically. So
Mm,
maybe you're referring to the same numbers,
yeah,
but then you say here that the quiet quitters are like on average approximately 52%. But yeah, please fill me in
global.
on the numbers you have seen.
Global is 52%. In Norway is 73.
The quiet quitters is 72% in Norway, which is it's amazing because of all the work opportunities we actually have in Norway.
I
But at
think
the
this is
same time,
like,
I might not be that surprised because when we see we have such high level of loneliness, depression, eating disorder, and other
mm,
health issues, it is connected. I truly believe it is connected to how much engagement we feel. That's why I talk so much about the importance of having a purpose and feeling engagement for your work and having a connection between your personal purpose and the purpose and the mission of the company you work for. So
yeah,
I think so many people go to work and feel like they're just working for someone and maybe not get to connect what's really important for them in life. But
yeah.
yeah, I love
But
listening to you and your insight in this.
like when I saw this is a new study. It came out now in 2023. And what fascinated me is because I have always asked myself, what is in Brazil that I can bring to Norway, right? And I have like teaching Portuguese language and cross cultural and training people that is going to Brazil, training people that is arriving in Norway. But suddenly, like, my answer came into place because Brazil is one of the countries that has highest engagement together with other countries of Latin America and Caribbean. So I did go to Brazil to do a study trip on that. I was like, what makes Brazilian people engaged at work, and what is the difference? What is the dynamic? Because obviously we have all the kind of problems there that we don't have here. For instance, for trust. In Norway, trust is very high, and we can trust each other. While in Brazil is always a little bit more delicate in this spot. But in terms of engagement, it's very high. And in my study, I understood that is about being connected, relationships, making friends at work. It's super important. But in order for you to connect with your colleagues, you have to be your integral self, because what connects is something that here we don't show so much. That is vulnerability. We have to be integral. And integral, we are very good, la da da, we are professionals, but we are also, and what I feel is that here is more acceptable that you are just this side. You leave the vulnerability out. You leave it at home, so you don't create real relations. And this with the time, there is another study as well that shows the time that you spend with people at work and with your family, and is insanely bigger the time that you spend with your colleagues. So for me, it makes no sense that we need to be so separated when we are in the work environment, because the common purpose, the common vision, everything that is common, and including like cooperation, collaboration. It comes from connection. So when we play to be, super individuals and in my little space, how can I connect? How can I have common anything? Then I go to another mindset that is competitive. And this makes very hard because, yeah, it brings insecurity, it brings a lot of bad feelings that makes you feel bad. So I start to kind of understand these dynamics and I just like, okay, this is what I have to work with. And in the end of the day, this goes in a question mark that I have been asking myself since I finished my MBA at Bay, because we are talking so much about ESG, environment, social, and governance. And I feel that all the companies are in the top of environment and governance. But when it comes to S, social sustainability, what is social sustainability? For me, it's engagement. For me, it's making employees feel good at work, that they don't get sick in the work environment, that they feel motivated, that they feel their energy, that they can cooperate, that they can collaborate. And for these, people has to be connected. So I felt like, okay, this is what I want to bring from me to the community where I belong. I want to bring, like my connective spirit and teach people like tools how they can connect. And I feel that like it can be very efficient and it's not that difficult. But obviously, there is a lot of limiting beliefs that we need to leave behind and request training. So that's why I put these training programs like mental training for, we start to kind of have another mindset and be a little bit more free at work. And I brought some consultancies to some teams where I saw amazing results when we start to put people to just identify what is the personality, for instance, and show to each other the fact that one person talks about like, oh, this, I'm a little bit more vulnerable here, and it's like how the others kind of complement them, and the dynamic of the team start to change because people start just like, no, if you don't like doing that, I'm good, no, it's okay, I can take this with you. And the whole entire dynamic of the team starts to happen exactly as it's supposed to be, complementing each other, one taking, for other, and having each other's back and becoming like a connection and collaboration much easier than competing and being like judging and stuff. So it's a really beautiful process to go in this kind of self-awareness in a group of people, and the results are always very interesting. So yeah, so this is my idea, my proposal here, like make people to open up a little bit and be a little bit more of who they are, bringing, yeah, both the strength, being brave to be good and to be better than others in certain parts, because this is other characteristic of like limiting beliefs in the culture because of Janteloven. It's a lot of people that has this mindset of I cannot be better, I cannot. Yeah, you can. You can be better how much you want, no problem. Because if you don't believe that you are good enough, you are going to self boycott. Like it's impossible. Like neuroscience has proven that the first person that needs to believe that you are capable, it's yourself. So this is my idea. Let's understand that like we are capable and do what we have to do, because we have a big job to do in terms of sustainability. So much to change. So we cannot stay behind and competing with each other. We really need to understand how to cooperate in another level.
It's beautiful. And I came to think about a quote I had to find here. It's guy, Dr. Stephen Purges, if I pronounce it correctly. He said, safety is not a question about lack of threat. Safety is the presence of connection, which I think is really well summarizing what you're saying. And we are wired to connect as human beings, and we
Hmm.
have gone so far in many countries in our perspectives on being individually successful, and I can master my life and my career and I'm independent. I often talk about we are missing a word in Norwegian probably, because being independent is good in many ways, but we cannot live and work by ourselves. We are depending on each other, but we should not be dependent and not independent, but interdependent, which is a
Mm.
mix of those two.
Yeah, I
And
like
then
it.
we need to have the connection. And what you also is touching upon is how we need to be connected with ourselves, because it's so much easier to create and maintain good connection with other people when we know ourselves on the inside
Hmm.
and we have a good connection about who we are, who do I want to be, how do I want to develop, how do I want to contribute, and building up that safe space inside, then
Yeah.
we can bring more value to other people as well. So I think touching upon being robust, having the proper mindset, I have this passion for growth mindset. And I believe when we use those kind of tools, we build up our self esteem, our self love, the connection with ourselves. We might be more robust when we face challenges or uncertainty and new situations, because maybe we do not have to go through the depression.
Yeah.
Of course, life is up and down, but
Yeah.
maybe the down periods might not be as deep and long if we have tools to get
Yeah.
through. And I guess that's part of what you are doing, how you coach people. So maybe they don't have to go through coming to Norway, having the love for this new place, and then they maybe have the shock and the depression and the downtime before they can come out on the other side. So yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about the mindset, the robustness, and how your perspectives are on that for yourself and the people you work with.
Yes. So, like, what happened to me is that I had a burnout myself after trying to belong, not finding the signs. The neuroscience of feeling excluded is quite interesting. So once you feel kind of a treat, or you feel someone like cutting you out, or you feel that people is not really listening to what you say, naturally your mind go to a defensive state of mind, and you try to protect yourself from being in the situation. So what you have, like, your protection can be, for instance, I'm not going to speak today, maybe I'm not going to this meeting, I'm going to avoid this person. And since we are in a culture where we avoid conflict, when people that is also feeling a little bit awkward about me avoiding them, instead of going there and having a conversation, the natural behavior would be avoiding me too. So at some point, we feel that we are not part of this, and this activates the same part of your brain than physical pain. So you start to feel this pain every day, one day after the other. People, to be motivated and engaged, they wanted to feel valued. Like they want to feel that like what they do matters to the group, to the team, to the company. When they feel that like they're even not getting a good morning from the colleagues, it's impossible not to get sick. You Unless you get out of this environment, you are going to get sick. But what happened to me is that my doctor put me in a program, public program, where it's special for people that has burnout. First, you go to a public course to learn about the neuroscience of depression, of burnout, and how your brain is operating and how can you avoid that. And then you go to 10 sessions of cognitive behavior therapy, one to one. And this therapist is going to clean up your brain and all the impressions that you had from this last experience and prepare yourself to come back to the work market. And for me, this was like extremely efficient. In 10 sessions, I was like, boom, clean, ready, on of myself again. And since then, I start to study cognitive behavior therapy and start to learn more about that with the question in the back of my mind. If this program could be so efficient on me that I was like burnout and so hurt, imagine what could be on me if I was not in this condition yet. So I start to ask myself, can I do a program like this to avoid the burnout? to avoid people feeling that. And yeah, I think that it's possible because when we change the mindset. So like now, for example, I decided that I belong. It's coming from inside me. If someone give me a sign different than that, I will confront them and I will ask them like, what's going on? Let's have a dialogue. Why not? Why this? And generally, like, communication solves everything. So you kind of find tools, to ask the right questions, to approach the person the right way that is not like intimidating, but like finding solutions. And then also, like, you start to see that like your problems can be opportunities. Maybe, like a colleague that is avoiding you today and would make you feel this pain. Like when you approach them with the right communication, you discover they are an amazing partner for working, someone that complements you, and you open opportunity for this communication for the team to be built in another way. So this is my idea. I have been talking with a lot of people that also had burnout, to understand their experience and how they feel. And I feel that the majority of the people is more or less the same case. They feel the signs, they go to a defensive state of mind, they avoid speaking out, they start to get outside, people start to avoid them. And when you see like it's completely, like not so easy to solve anymore, you get sick and it's like painful. I can tell you, like, this is yeah, it's a situation that I don't wish to people, especially getting this from work. Work should be a place that recharges you, that creates impact, that, like, you feel good for doing that, not a place that makes you sick. Makes no sense, right?
And of course, going through depression or other hardships in life is part of life, to go through rough times. And if we have some tools when we go through those rough times, we might come out on the other side with more learning experience. And as you share your tools and experience and knowledge with people to help others, so it can always come something good from those kind of experiences as well. But we don't have to go through a depression, we don't have to go that deep. And you talk so much about the workplace and how this is important for leaders and companies and cultures. And I think it's also a beautiful opportunity for leaders and companies to be part of improving people's health, which is so important, not only for the company, but also for the society. Because, as I mentioned before, such high numbers in depression and loneliness and other health issues, mentally and physically, we see now around in Norway a huge and increasing problem with substance abuse, with violence, with different kind of behaviors, which is a result, I think, from people not feeling connected, not feeling valued, and they have with them traumas, big or small, or issues they haven't had the opportunity to learn tools to handle. So we are actually on the edge of a quite huge potentially breakdown in the welfare system and the society, because so many people are now dependent on support from the healthcare system and the welfare, the wealth, the system in Norway, the welfare system.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe leaders and organizations think, but it's not our responsibility to help people with their personal problems. But I try to encourage them to see how much workplaces can impact individual lives and personal life. Because if we go to work, we are not connected, we don't feel valued, we might be stressed, maybe on the edge of being burned out. What happens when we come home after work? We do not bring the best version of ourselves if we come home in that kind of condition, which will then impact the partner if we have one, kids if we have kids, friends, and how we contribute for good
Mm-hmm.
or for bad in the environment around us. So leaders and organization can create massive ripple effects either on the good side or the bad side. So I think
Totally.
we really have to step up the game in in the workplaces, because we
Totally. I
are
agree.
such a huge part of both the problem, pushing people so hard, maybe not have the chance to be connected, feel valued, have a proper balance, but also a huge opportunity to corporate social responsibility in a way
Yes.
we have never seen before. So that's why I love the engagement and the work you do, because this goes way beyond the results in an organization.
This is social sustainability, Sissy. It's something that starts on the workplace and bring a positive impact to the society where the business is in the rate. This is social sustainability. I think that this is like going to be extremely important. And I did a mathematics because Gallup found that like this 52% of the people that feel low engagement or like quiet quitting correspond to 9% of global GDP. So if you take the numbers in Norway, that is 73, it corresponds 12% of Norway GDP. So we have an opportunity for economic growth here, because imagine if I bring 20% of these people to engaged, like your productivity is going to go high. Plus, this is what we need to transformation, innovation. People is not engaged, they're not going to have new ideas. There is no creativity if you are just like doing a job. And I would like to bring a new argument as well to the table. That is the threat of artificial intelligence. Because for
Which
now
means
we are like this, like AI,
yeah, artificial
artificial intelligence,
intelligence. Yes, good.
right? Because we are like, this is not happening, but it is happening and is not going to leave. AI is here with all its capacity for free. Now, we human beings, we have to understand how are we going to compete with AI or dominate AI? That is my kind of goal here. And is emotional intelligence is the only point that we can keep being different and needed is if we connect in another level. And if you look to the concept of regenerative leadership, there are leaders that is looking to nature or to native people to get inspiration, to understand how we can use these learnings into our teams. And we are going to find societies that is extremely organized, such as ants, bees, dolphins, birds. Like how the bird go here from Spain. No GPS, no meeting, no strategy. They just go, right? We have the same potential as human beings, but we have to connect. And if we are just like play individuals, I think that like we are never going to be able to connect and do what we have to do. So this connection is needed. And dominate artificial intelligence with emotional intelligence. We are going to. Evolution is coming so fast. Transformation is coming so fast. And biggest is the number of disengaged people now, biggest is the opportunity to change this game. I really believe that we can do fantastic transformations here in Norway. It should be the hub of innovation of Europe, of the planet. We have the money, we have the capacity, we have a lot of smart people. Why are we not picking at? Lack of connection. This is my taking.
And I'm so aligned with you. And I know this entire movement with transhumanism, so on things, we need to be upgraded with technology to be more smart and more efficient and productive and whatnot. But I truly believe we have so much untapped potential if we understand how the brain works, how the connection with other people is important. So I think we really should go and look for the natural ways for human beings to
Mhm.
realize the potential without being shipped in their brain and their bodies to
Yeah.
improve, because there is like, just look around in nature. As you said, how birds can find their way from Norway to Spain or the other way around. How just look at the flower, and then like for us looking at banana trees in Brazil, and how the purple flower opens maybe one leaf or two leaves to let in some of the bees to bring some pollination on, or what's
Yeah.
going on, like the nature and how it's been created, and how who can ever copy the human brain? We don't even know what conscious is. Like, it's so many things we do not know about the human
Yeah.
body and the human brain, and how everything is working in this perfect harmony if we just leave nature to take care of ourselves in the best possible way. So that's why I'm so engaged in what are the more natural ways for human beings to develop
Yeah.
their potential,
Me too.
how to to sustain healthy, or to recreate a good health if we are out of balance. And the human connection, we know from the Blue Zone research how relationships are on the top of the list of the most important factors for longevity and good health. So this is where we have to go, way
Hmm.
before we go into the transhumanism too far,
Yeah.
and let AI take up too much space, because we are in a position where we are about to extinguish ourselves, probably, if we don't have more conscious discussions
Yeah.
and
Agree.
decisions about human nature and technology, and how to combine those two in the best possible way.
Yeah. And like in talking about leadership, I just going to use like an example of a work that I did with a leader and her team. When I arrived to work with this team, and I asked the leader, what is the personality types? She had no idea. So we start putting people together and measuring, like, are you introspect, are you extrovert? And by having this map, she could change the tools, and understanding that she had a lot of introverts and people that didn't like to speak out. Instead of brainstorm, she started to do paper storm with post-its. Like automatically, one little action, your team come from here to here. So this understanding is leader's responsibility. And if you don't like, look into the human as a complete being, and look into your team as a group of interaction and collaboration. So I'm sorry to tell you, you're not a leader, you are a manager. And there is difference between being a leader and being a manager. So what I miss is exactly people that can understand that human beings are holistic, that they are the good side, this is the side that I like, that I hired, but they are also weaknesses and like vulnerabilities. And me as a leader, I need to look to this being as a holistic, and understand my team as a holistic team, and let them interact in the way that makes more sense for them, instead of like just persuading them to do what I want. I want they to do what is better for themselves. And when you achieve results, there is nothing more like motivational than that you are doing a good result. So, for instance, studies has shown that positive feedback brings much, much better effect to a person at work than this evaluation that we do every year, looking for the bad things that the person did. And and this is the kind of things that I propose. Let's just like understand the last studies and last learnings from what neuroscience is telling, how people feel when they have this kind of motivation, this kind of evaluation, or how personality works better on this position, on that position, or how can I bring the best ideas in a team, let people put out their minds and don't feel that like that they are in risk. Or it's so much that neuroscience is bringing to work environment that I'm really excited to see like how our work environment is transforming from here to the future. I feel that like there is a lot of space and a lot of things happening in this environment. Very exciting.
Very exciting. And for me, working now more than 25 years with development of people, leaders, cultures, organizations, it's been a quite huge change from back then when I started, in how we focus on developing those soft elements in an
Hmm.
organization. But still, I see quite a high number. I don't know how many, if there are any percentages on that, but we still have so much left of the old paradigm with CEOs and CFOs and boards and owners who are too occupied with the material, the measure, the KPIs, which is all about the hard numbers, and maybe often short-sighted because of the monthly results they're focusing on, or the quarterly results they're focusing about. Still, we have quite a long way to go to see
Very
that
much.
more top managers understand, or managers in general understands how much value, how much more we can increase the results and bring out better performance in people by focusing on the soft skills or the soft values, the soft elements in a company.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the most important? What are you doing to reach out or to yeah, get those kind of managers to see this value?
I honestly am bringing numbers to my arguments. It increases bottom line. Obviously, it does. If you're going to increase productivity, you're going to have less people sick, you have more creativity, you have more innovation, you have more profits. And then I talk about the profits. I leave the rest And I feel that somehow because of the inner development goals, there is this new concept that is taking over, and its hub is opening everywhere. I'm a participant of a few hubs here in Norway, and I'm like kind of following this movement. I can see that is a quite feminine movement. I think that this feminine power that we have of intuition and of understanding the importance of psychological safety, and also being more exposed to be in different positions because we are not in the top of privilege being a woman. It made us to open the eyes first. So I always need two women to be my first contact. It's easy to kind of convince them, and I try to make them a hero and introduce me to the decision maker. And when I go to the decision maker, I always try to bring numbers, not talking so much about my for instance, like how I'm going to do it, on how it's important, or how we're going to feel, but like how this is going to improve productivity of your people and bottom line.
Yeah. And for me, and I guess it's also a part of the entire diversity perspective. I think what you're touching upon is really important. And you mentioned feminine qualities and women. I think talking about feminine qualities and masculine qualities, I think it might not either be gender specific, even though we tend to see there is that typical difference between male and female, but it might not be necessarily gender connected with femininity and masculinity. I think we are in a society where we have built so much on the masculine values, like we have masculine
Hmm.
corporations, organizations, most leaders are men, but women can have masculine qualities as well, or they, like, we
Yeah.
all have a set of masculine and feminine qualities. More are more on the masculine side and others are more on the feminine side. I think
Hmm.
both genders or all people need both a masculinity and a femininity in their qualities and value
Hmm.
system. I think it's about
Hmm.
balancing both of them and bringing in the perspectives and the importance of both. Because if we have too much of either of them, it will be imbalance. It will not be good. So we need to have both. So
Yeah.
I think masculinity and femininity is really important to be aware of in ourselves and in our culture, so we can bring the best out of the
Hmm.
potential.
Yeah, I agree. What I was meaning here is that this movement of transformation is clearly driven by majority females individuals. Like when we go into the summit, for instance, we have much more women than men. Or like She conference in Norway, for instance, that we are talking about this importance of this all, but is basically like 90% female in the, we are talking like, okay, we're talking about us to ourselves, but like you see, the movement is coming and is gaining force. And I think that is just because maybe there is this sensibility in women, but obviously it's never a rule, and there is a lot of men that is aware of the value of this, like mental trainings and connection and interaction, much more sensible, while other will be like more kind of regarding to numbers and bottom line and what can be, like bring difference in my goal. And my goal is make this whole entire story profitable. It's quite understandable. I have a lot of empathy for leaders. They also have a lot of pressure. They need to deliver in so many levels, but in the end of the day, they need to create value to stakeholders. And this is money, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we need just to prove that this will bring more money and will
Yeah.
like motivated people is like no chance that they are going to work less. It's the opposite. They are bringing so much more to work. So like with your people, if they are 72% disengaged and a training program, for instance, can bring this to 50%, you're going to have a difference in your bottom line by the end of the day and do good for the society. So
I
we
totally
need.
agree, and I know for sure I really recognize how many more women are doing these kind of conversations, and you see them more on stage. So for sure, and I think because it might be more natural for us to have those kind of values and focus. But I also think it's so many men who actually believe in these things and who work for these things. But it might be a stereotype in our society that men should be more masculine and more about the hardcore business and numbers. So I think actually many men can struggle with daring to be honest about when they believe in these more feminine qualities and perspectives and
Mm.
how to bring it into organizations. So I think we also have to work on balancing that out in our cultures. So both or all of us can bring both. So I think it's so important to highlight these things, Larissa. And I know you would like to answer and respond to this. I will let you. We are approaching the end of the conversation. We could go on forever, but if you feel like commenting on this last piece, please do. But then I would like to answer also or ask you a final question: is what are you doing these days to develop your potential? What's the most important thing you're doing these days that could be relevant for others to hear about?
Yes, well, I think that one of my strong points is my discipline. And I have a compromise with myself that I will dedicate 10 minutes of my day every day to learn something new. Now I'm joining the Mind Valley. It's like a fantastic opportunity for personal growth, and I'm doing several different courses. And it's like the quests is like nano learning, where you do like 10-15 minutes every day. I'm doing that for my cognitive side. And then I practice yoga every day. I'm a yogi for more than 20 years. And I don't do more than 15 minutes. And looks like, oh, it's too much. But when you take the habit, it's not too much at all. You feel strong, you feel stretched, your body is ready. And I also deliver to the universe everything that is to have on me for the universe save. You can call it pray. I don't know. So since I'm very young, I kind of understand me as a three-dimensional being. Now I understand that I have even more dimensions, but I dedicate 15 minutes to each one of my dimensions every day religiously, just by being disciplined and creating habit. And this is what, like it has been working very well for me for many years, and I really recommend. It's like the silence. It's really important when you just deliver, a little bit meditation, a little bit of physical activity, a little bit of new learnings, and we are good to go.
So the three dimension is, I assume, physical for sure, like the body. Take care of your physical body, your muscles, your strength, and then there is spiritual, like being connected with universe, And what's the third
Hmm.
one? What's the word you will use?
Cognitive, mental.
Cognitive. Yeah. Wow. So that's really, really important. I think that's a good framing of to ensure how to develop in a balanced way. Because if we only build muscles but not any emotional or cognitive capacity, we will be tipped out of balance after some
Hmm.
time. And also we have to have some kind of connection with something bigger than ourselves, which could be the purpose or feeling of being belonging to the planet, to other beings.
Create impact
It
for the
can take
society
different
where you
shapes and
live.
forms. It could be religion for someone. It could just be some kind of belief that we are connected to something bigger than ourselves, I think.
Hmm.
And also, actually, research shows, I don't remember her name right now, but there is some kind of research that shows people who have that kind of connection, if it's a religion or a bigger purpose, they are less prone to depression and burnout, and they have a better life quality. So
Yeah, I agree. And like just to close what you told, it's very important for us all to remember that our muscle is a, or our brain is a muscle. And in the
yeah,
same way that you go to the gym and we train our muscles every day, we need to train our brain as well, right? Like create neuroplasticity, find new ways of doing things. Don't be like just where we were. Like obviously we believed in our old times when we were teenagers. I think that we believe that this is it. My brain is ready to go for life. But now with neuroscience, we understand that our brain can keep developing to the day that we die. So putting these activities are also very important, like stretch a little bit more, find a new way of doing things. Or for instance, I like to take different ways or speaking different languages. This is like something that I really enjoy. When like someone speaks Norwegian to me, I answer in English. So like everything that is a little bit different for your brain keeps training your brain. And this is going to avoid you a lot of problems regarding to dementia, Alzheimer's, so on and so forth. So keep training the brain. Mental trainings is really like I think the biggest innovation for the way to go now. Like I believe that this is going to take like work environments and also societies, and this is going to be the biggest difference between us today and us, in 5 years. Because like now, like the long scenario is 5 years, right? Like everything is changing so fast.
that's amazing, and I think that might be also a final input, maybe to all those leaders out there, maybe even parents, because as parents we're also leaders, or even teachers, to be conscious about those three elements: how to develop people, your kids, your students, your employees. Make sure that you get the balance of those three elements. So. It's beautiful, Larissa. I
Thank you,
find you
City.
really inspiring, and I love your energy. I love you being a pepper in the rice. I hope
Thank you.
people have all who have listened to the conversation bring something of value with them, and at least, if not other things, how to develop more of their own potential. Because I think we all deserve it. I think we all need it. I think the planet and workplaces and societies will be better if we all tap into our potential a little bit more than we do today. So thank
100%
you so
agree.
much.
Thank you for the opportunity and especially for the mission that you are taking ahead. Very important. I'm also like a big admirer for work. And I can't wait to see how this all is going to develop. And I hope we can be connected soon again. We are in the same mission, and I'm 100% sure that we are going to create a lot of good impact for our societies with
Let's
that.
do that. So thank you so much, Larissa, and have a beautiful rest of your day. And thanks
You
to all
too.
who have been joining the conversation for being with us.
It was a big pleasure.